Hey everyone, welcome on into Drinks with Binks. I'm Julie Stewart-Binks, and yes, Christmas has thrown up all over my bookcase, aka also my gym and my set and my dining room because we are still working from home. Isn't it great right now? It's great because we are working on getting rid of this goddamn pandemic. But in better news, I have some awesome guests here on my show here today. I am very, very excited to be able to welcome in two women that I look up to. I think they are incredible. I love the work that they do, and I love the work now that they've been doing beyond what their previous careers were. I've got Jemele Hill and Cari Jemele here with us today, who are hosting the new show on Vice TV. Cari and Jemele won't stick to sports. Thank you guys for joining me. I know how busy you are. Thank you for being here today.
Thanks for having me. Yeah.
Yes, it is. I am glad to have you guys on. And as Jemele knows, who she drank me under the table last time with Tito's on the rocks. We have some drinks on the...
She can drink anybody under the table, Julie. Anybody.
But this is important. Julie, tell her before me who drank the most on your show.
Mike.
It was well,
Mike.
He still is number one. He is still the undefeated champion.
Which Cari has a great drunk story about Mike, but regardless, that was shocking that it was him.
The night I met Mike, really met him when I first got to ESPN, we went to an NFL draft party, and he was like, yeah, let's all ride together. It'll be fun, this, and the third. He got so drunk, and I don't know if it was because he was mixing drinks, but we had to do a 2-hour drive back to Bristol, Connecticut from New York City with him throwing up in the car, in the backseat with me the whole time. He wouldn't even roll down the window and not throw up. And then the next day he's like, yeah, I got to apologize. I think I drank too much. I'm done drinking. So for you to say he came on this show and drank so much is unheard of because...
I always love the people that have those experiences and they're like, I'm done drinking.
Yeah.
And then it's like...
No,
I think you're not. I'm surprised he didn't pull over and puke out the side of the door. I had a friend do that on the 405. I think that's the courteous thing to do. Pull over. But yes, he is still the undefeated champion here on the show. 6 Hennessy and lemonades. And that's sort of like the effect that I have on people here, drive them to drink. But anyone watching the show that does not drink alcohol, we also love non-alcoholic drinks too, but that's not what we're drinking today. What have you guys chosen for us what bevy is on?
I'm having a little white wine, a little Sauvignon Blanc.
Beautiful.
Okay. And I have some rosé champagne right here. See, I felt like the last time I was here, I may have been a little too hardcore. So I was like, let me soften it a little bit by coming back with some rosé champagne.
I love that. I'm a big fan. And because when I heard what you guys are drinking, I was like, well, I'll drink obviously what they're both drinking. And I did bring, look over here. I just happen to have some champagne ready to go. Too bad I'm going to be popping this by myself. But what are we toasting to? What am I popping? I already took the thing off, so I'm going to do it. But what are we popping bottles for today?
Just being gainfully employed and kind. I don't know. What do you mean? What do you guys say?
That's good. Gainfully employed and kind. And you know what? The most important thing, somebody told me this, is that when you open a bottle of champagne, she shouldn't scream. She should moan. Sounded like she moaned. Little scream, slightly.
That sounds like a bedtime story.
No, it was a woman that told me this. No, they were just because she had been told that as well. She was like, somebody said you actually can open it quietly is the point. So I think that's what it was.
Well, that you learn something new every single day. So we toasted to, I haven't even started drinking yet, I've forgotten. We toasted to being gainfully employed and kind. And nice.
Yeah.
And also, let's celebrate a better future now. Yeah, man, it's going to be, things are looking up. Okay.
Yes, the fact that things are looking up. Cheers. And I love that Julie is double fisting.
I realize this is not going to work well at the beginning of the show, just drinking both at the same time.
Your commitment to being a host of a show built around drinking, it just warms my heart. I wish I would have thought of this concept.
Yeah, I'm surprised. So so surprised you didn't, my friend. Like, that's shocking.
Yeah. Well, maybe if Jemele, came over to the Binks side, she could then be,
You could.
No,
she could then do drinks with Binks. Yeah.
No, if
I'm Jemele's
Everybody's
next
dead.
partner and we get married and she takes my last name, then she could then have this show as well.
Yes.
But yes, you got to lean in 100%. So whenever the show's on, the drinking begins. And it's a Wednesday. But yes, so everyone know we are taping this on a Wednesday. And Cari and Jemele's show is on Thursdays. So your episode this week will have passed. But the good thing is that there's many more episodes. And we're going to get into all that and more in just a second. But first of all, Jemele, I want to congratulate you on being one of Adweek's most powerful women in America. That is an absolute incredible honor to have. What did it feel like to see that in print?
A little weird because whenever you make a list, or at least this is how I look at it, the few times I've been able to make a list. First of all, I thought I was done making lists because, you get that 30 under 30, that 40 under 40.
And I the awful announcing lists. Yeah.
But other people do similar lists or the Group 100 or something like that. And so since most of them have been related to age, I was like, woof, I have aged out of being on lists. That's probably for
That's
sure.
not true.
And so
50 under 50.
Oh, yeah. Oh, great. Wonderful to look forward to. Thanks, Cari.
Okay.
But yeah, I've never tried to win any awards or any kind of accolades in my life. So it felt very humbling to be a part of this particular list because I'm looking at the resumes of a lot of the women on there, many of which I was familiar with. And I'm like, Jeannie Buss. I'm like, I don't belong on a list with Jeannie Buss. I'm glad they think that, but I'm just like, she just won an NBA championship. She's the first female owner to win one. Like, hey, that's not really the same, right?
I disagree.
But
I disagrry.
Oh, well, you're my friend, and I pay you to say that.
Okay, you're right. You did. Never mind. I'll be quiet.
So, no, it was just a tremendous honor and very humbling to answer the question.
Yeah, I mean, it was an incredible list. You mentioned Jeannie Buss. Also, congratulations in a different vein, though, to you, Cari Champion, on your Lakers for winning the championship in the longest year of life. And you guys deserved it. And you could probably do it again.
I hope so. I was really working with Jeannie in the front office a few hours ago on the team and who we wanted to go after. We still haven't settled on something. It's tough though. I mean, I know this is just but thank you, and I appreciate it. We worked so hard this year, and that time in the bubble, all of it, because I was there. I was a true member of the team, and it's my chip.
I feel like what you joke about it, but I could totally see you and Jeannie Buss collabing you being in the Lakers front office.
Oh no, anytime I get a chance to talk to anybody that's in the front office, I just be like, let me tell you what I think. They don't like me. They don't even want to see me come in. They'd be like, here she go with her crazy ideas. I trust me. I am that kind of fan that you just don't want to be around.
She's pretty intense.
I definitely believe that. I will take your word for that right there. But as someone who has experienced the championship recently and we passed it to you guys, like Toronto Raptors, it's like we probably would have been in the finals. Like again, if Nick Nurse had figured out not how to be a bad coach with Pascal Siakam, we would have. I feel like I kind of helped you get this championship this year.
You did. Thank you.
Yeah, the season's starting in a day, so we will be able to see everyone back in action again very soon.
You guys are so generous. You Canadians are the best. You do know that.
I'm learning. You know what? Before I would have said no, but I'd say 100% yes now. Yes, yeah. All the nice things are from Canada, really. Okay. On that note, there's two amazing things from America we are going to be discussing when we come back from break on Drinks with Binks. Don't go anywhere. We got Jemele Hill and Cari Champion.
I'm Michael Smith, and I'm proud to say that I had drinks with Binks. 6 of them motherfuckers to be exact.
Hey guys, welcome on back to Drinks with Binks. Oh, hi, didn't see you there. Just pouring myself some more champagne because I've already had basically a glass of it on the show here, Drinks with Binks with Jemele Hill and Cari Champion. And these two women have created a new show on Vice TV, which is, if you have not seen it, And if you are a Fubo TV subscriber, you can watch it, as I have. It is awesome. And I'm not just saying that blowing smoke because they're here on the show, but it is authentic. They have great guests and awesome segments that are just like what people would be thinking. And if they haven't thought it, they're like so happy that you went there. When you guys like decided to come up with this show, what was the driving force behind this particular idea?
We wanted to drink. No,
there's a lot more to it than that.
Okay, my bad. Okay, so here's the funny story, Julie. I'm gonna give you guys some behind the scenes. So in August of, I think maybe last year, or maybe even the summer of last year, when I was still at ESPN, I went to Jemele's house, and she tells this story with a bottle of wine, and I knocked on her door. We had been talking about working together, but we thought we'd do a podcast or a YouTube show. But I went to her house with a bottle of wine. I hired a crew, and we went and shot a story, which I thought was amazing. And we were going to call it, we're going to steal your name. It's going to be like one more, right? Where we would, every time we would talk about a topic, we'd pour one more.
Mm-hmm.
And then we edited, and it was great. And I loved the way it looked, and we were happy with it. And we kind of just let it sit on the shelf, and we both went on to our different opportunities. I was still at ESPN, and I was doing another show. She was doing several other things, and a really close friend of ours by the name of Sharita Johnson called and said, hey, Vice is looking for a new nighttime talk show, and they want to have it with women, and they want to have it with you all. Send me your reel again that you put together. And I think that was in March of this year when the whole world had shut down. And from that moment on, we never looked back. We had maybe 2 conversations, and it was like, then it went to negotiations, and we had a show. It was fairly easy, and I know it's not that easy, but it was fairly easy because the timing just felt right. Like, who knew that in March, we didn't know that we were having such a racial reckoning in America. We didn't know that Black Lives Matter would have such a platform as it is, as you've seen. We didn't know that Kamala Harris, Auntie Kamala, would be our vice president, Madam Vice President, if you will. So Black women were really at the forefront of conversations and making decisions, as they always have been, but demanding their power and their voice. And Jemele more so than me, I was recently freed. And I was ready to go. She had been free. And so it was a great time. It was a great timing. She's one of my dearest friends in the world. I think our show, while it's all honest, it's a relationship show. We respect each other a lot. And the beauty of working with this one is she's so gracious and loving. She's like the Magic Johnson of TV. She's like the LeBron James of television. You know, she's always throwing an assist and making sure you're great while I'm out here being real Isaiah.
No. What? But you wouldn't find that offensive, Jemele, as a Pistons fan.
That's why. By the way, that's why I said it. I'm being real Kobe. That's my boo. I'm gonna shoot the ball. Give me the ball. I'm about to shoot. Yeah, mate. So I've been being real Kobe about it. But it's been good, Julie. Like, honestly, we get to go in there, shoot in the morning, drink, because we drink on set too. You ain't the only one. We just don't.
I've noticed. I like that. Obviously, I like that a lot about your show. And Jemele was telling me beforehand, you guys have a limit of the times you can say the word.
We do.
Right?
Well, what is it? We can say it 6 times, but
it's
if
5.
we say it
it's
7
5.
times, it's 5 times. We can say it 5 times.
You say it 6
times. Yeah, it's got to be important.
It's gotta be, or we get bleeped. Yeah. So
Jemele, what's that like, being able to just drop the F-bomb when you never could have done that in your old job?
It's very freeing and liberating. And the thing is, we were both ourselves when we were at ESPN, but we're allowed to be even more of ourselves with Vice because of the type of network they are. I mean, it's just beyond just the cursing. It's like their sensibilities are way different. You know, they don't have some huge parent company like Disney behind them, so they don't have to worry about as much. And so because they're edgy, we're edgy, it fits very well. So this is not just about any network, agreeing to air our show. It's about the fact that there is like a good value and brand alignment for both parties. So yeah, like Cari said, it's been a lot of fun, and that's why we can have a new segment called This Week in Black Shit. That's why we have a new segment that's called Previously on America's Bullshit. While we have our favorite white person of the week. Like, that's what we
I like that you paid tribute to Alex Trebek too last week. That was very nice.
He was our favorite white person of last week. Yeah, you represent.
He's a good guy. Yeah. Well, pouring out for Alex Trebek. But what would you say then, guys? Like so far, maybe what do you hope is a takeaway when people watch this show? Jemele, I'll start with you.
Well, I think mostly, I think we hope that people take away a word that you already mentioned, which was the authenticity, that they understand we're being real and we're being genuine, and this is who we are. Now, beyond all that, we certainly have some information in the show. Yes, we're going to entertain you. Yes, you'll laugh. You maybe get mad and go through some other emotions as you watch us, but you also, I think, will leave with some nuggets of information, or at least we hope, looking at something a little bit differently than you did when you came in. So, we kind of hope that you experience the gamut of all of these things because we feel like we have a pretty fun product, and we have something that we think will compel people to giving us, I guess, technically 22 minutes of our time, of their time.
And the beauty of the show, Julie, is that we really do, or we try, more importantly, is to have fun. I think if you're not enjoying what you're doing for a living, it's unfortunate. And I think when you have that opportunity to do it, we do. I know for Jemele, she's a columnist. She's always had an opinion. She has an opinion about anything. Color blue. Let me tell you about blue. And I'm like, I don't necessarily always care to express my opinion about everything, but I do care to talk about what's happening in our world today and what's wrong. And I feel like that's why we be given a platform. And what I always hesitate, especially with the show, is that I don't want people to tune in and feel, and this is just my feeling. Jay may not even feel this way. I don't want them to feel like we hate white people, but I do believe that if you do tune into the show, you're going to learn something if you're willing to listen and really pay attention, because we're going to do it in a funny way. We're going to do it in a way that is also very serious as well. And there's nothing wrong with that. I want to remove the stigma of Black people on television talking about what's wrong with racism as if it's a taboo topic and we can't talk about it. Oh, it's too taboo, don't talk about it. Like, no, let's talk about it. How will we ever move forward in this country if we can't have uncomfortable ass conversations? And I feel like there's a lot of re-education that needs to happen. We need to learn things differently. We've been lied to for a very long time in how we live in this wonderful, great state of America. I'm living the American dream, trust me. Mm-hmm. But I also know that there's a lot of wrong. And if we can get some allies and some disruptors on our side who get it and want to join in as we try to wake up the world, so be it. But we're not here to divide. We're just here to give you some jewels, some jewelry, some free nuggets. Take it with you. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I completely hear you. And I think that, like, not only is that like so important and to hear your voices and your perspective. And that is why I wanted to have you guys on my show. Obviously, I think the world of you as sports broadcasters, but as people and as your perspective, that's something I can't possibly ever understand. And something we'll get into later in the show is a white person, like when a white person is watching the show and maybe they didn't vote for Trump and maybe they understand white privilege, but like they almost like got to they answered the math question, but they didn't do the work necessarily. Like they didn't understand like what else, like you just think like, oh, well, you know, I'm good. I'm not racist. Right. So, but there's so much more than that. And I think that that's when I'm watching your show, like, it's so interesting, the levels of like understanding, like peeling it back in society, like how you can be better. And, you know, I've done that. I'm doing that for myself right now. And so I think that that's important for us to keep talking about. We got to take a quick break. We're going to keep drinking and binking here with Jemele Hill and Cari Champion. Don't go anywhere. Better fill up your glasses because this is going down. Welcome on back to Drinks with Binks. We've got Jemele Hill and Cari Champion from Cari and Jemele Won't stick to sports. And I'm JSB. We are going to be playing Never Have I Ever because we drink on this show, and Never Have I Ever is probably the greatest game ever to do while drinking. So it would suck if you weren't drinking it. As you guys know, I'm going to say something, and then if you've done it, you drink. Cool beans. Let's go. Never have I ever gotten in trouble by my employer for something I tweeted about.
Oh, Jesus. Like, are you kidding? I probably should do a shot on this.
You got to drink that whole thing there.
To the head.
Right.
Great. Well, okay, we're all on the same page. Never have I ever clapped back at a troll by contacting their employer. I knew that about you, so I set you up.
You did. Why am I going to be the drunkest one after this?
Yeah, I'm not like, why would I contact their employer? But okay, yeah, go ahead, Jay.
Because that's spite list material.
Sometimes street justice needs to prevail. That's why.
Street justice. Is that what you call that? Okay, then, dog. Go.
Social media justice must prevail sometimes.
Okay, never have I ever gotten in Twitter fights with Clippers fans.
I was like, I know that ain't me.
I said that one up. Who gets in fights with Clippers fans? Lakers fans.
Of course.
Never have I ever thought about running for office. Come on. Drink. Yes.
Ah!
Yes. I have thought
Of
about it.
course.
But you do know they have to do a background check.
That's what stops me. That's what stops me. But in my office,
You do know that.
I don't mean like a big office. Like I've thought about like locally, like, oh, maybe I should get on like, even though I don't have kids, like the PTA, or get on like just something locally so that I can in my neighborhood improve what's happening.
You're not talking about PTA. You're talking a little higher than that.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, not PTA, but like something local that impacts my direct community. Like I don't want to be like a senator or anything.
Okay, well, we'll keep that one out there in the ether. Speaking of, never have I ever taken out real estate in Donald Trump's brain.
I guess I have, huh?
Yes, for sure.
Thought I'd just get you real up.
Yeah, I know. Thanks.
Does that feel like a badge of honor at all?
Like yes and no. I mean, it does, just because to irritate somebody like him, it just kind of gives me a perverse amount of pleasure. But yeah, I mean, I'm in a club of, I don't know, hundreds, I guess.
Okay, never have I ever shopped drunk online to then be surprised by what I purchased later.
Oh, definitely.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Cari used
I
to.
used to take Jemele drunk shopping at CVS. It wasn't online. But I used to take her
Yes, we used to drunk shop at CVS.
We live in Bristol, Connecticut.
Yeah.
Nothing to do. And I'm like, come with me to get some lotion. You know I love to be shiny. Come with me to get some products.
Yes.
I love any kind
You
of
have the
product.
best
And she was,
shiny legs
she
on
hates
TV.
thank you,
Yeah.
they're Barbies. And she's upset about it. She used to hate it. She used to be like, I don't want to go. So now I'm all like, yes, that's even more amazing. Come with me.
Because I would wake up the next day and I'd have like toilet paper, cotton balls, Doritos, and like Tide. And I'm like, where did this come from? I'm like, oh, I went drunk CVS shopping with Cari. That's where it came from.
All the things every human being needs in life. Toilet paper, Doritos.
I believe that, though. That's a night out in Bristol, like in West
That's
Hartford, or wherever you guys did your time there.
Yeah. And every bar we went to had carpet on the floor, Julie.
No.
Yes.
Yes.
It's like an airport carpet, too. Has the same kind of genre.
Yeah.
Well, okay. Well, CVS shopping at CVS with Cari, maybe potential like segment, getting drunk, going to CVS.
Yeah.
Cari.
Yeah.
That sounds like a show.
All right, this has
show.
been a wonderful edition of Never Have I Ever, and I think that we've learned that Jemele, Cari, and I are on our way to being kind of drunk. But that's not really news on this show. So we have a whole lot more actual news after this on Drinks with Binks.
Hey guys, I'm Taylor Rooks, and I had way too many drinks with Binks.
Hey guys, back here on Drinks with Binks. I'm JSB. We've got Jemele Hill and Cari Champion, and both of them also do so many other jobs. It's like I was writing down all the lists of like how to introduce them, and I'm like, okay, that's going to take up the whole like episode. But you guys, you know, whether it's print, TV together, radio, podcast, every single thing, Instagram, Twitter, Periscope. You're all over the place, and I absolutely love following you on all these different platforms. And speaking of platforms, like right now, many people have been using theirs, especially to get people out to vote. And yeah, like they voted surprisingly, not in the way we thought that they would, but Joe Biden is our next president. Kamala Harris is our next vice president. And for people like you guys who have been trying to get people to go out and vote and who have endured so much like hate and vitriol. And I know that, Jemele, you read out some of your Instagram DMs that you've gotten from people. Like, what does it mean to sort of see a light at the end of the tunnel during what has been like a really dark 4 years? And Jemele, I'll start with you.
I guess it is. I'm trying to think of the most optimistic way I can say this. It's good that so many people voted, for sure. And it's good that so many people felt civically engaged, politically engaged, and particularly when you look at the Black turnout in a lot of the major cities across America. That was very inspiring to see. However, that being said, I think people need to really have a full understanding of how the last 4 years have really set us back as a country. And so now the next steps forward, they're just not easy steps. Like the presidential election part of it was just honestly a baby step. What needs to be undone going forward, and not just related to Donald Trump, but like if we ever want to have a chance of making sure that our children and their children and people's grandchildren don't have to still combat some of these same systemic racial issues and issues of oppression and gender disparity, like there is some real tough things that have to happen over the course of the next decade or the next 20 years, because it sticks in my mind as we're going through these things that we're kind of still fighting for the same thing that Martin Luther King Jr. talked about. The same things that when he did the March on Washington, or that he wrote about in Letters from a Birmingham Jail, like voting rights. We're still talking about voting rights. We're still trying to end voter suppression. And when I think about it in that respect, I do get a little down because it just feels like we're just swimming against a tide. And so in order for us to push through these walls and to have a different conversation, hopefully in the next 50 years, it's going to require all hands on deck. And it's going to require some really tough work. So like the presidential election, what I hope doesn't happen is that people get so caught up in that and be like, whoo, we got rid of Trump, that they forget about the really hard and difficult work that must be done in order to make our society far better than the one that our ancestors left us.
Right.
All the things that she said, Julie, I think are smart, as usual. But I also know that the reason why we're still having this conversation is because there is an apathy towards social justice. Once we see one big quote unquote event happen, we fall back, and that falls on the Black community, the white community, people at large, right? So when President Barack Obama became president, we were like, woo, hopeful, we made it. And during, his midterm, he's like, wait a second, nobody's voting, no one cares, because we knew that he was there and that he would win. And I feel and I fear that that'll be the same thing that will happen again with quote unquote Joe Biden in the office and Kamala Harris, the very first Black woman and Indian woman of descent to be in the White House. I think the work has to be consistent, and there should be an apathy. It's exhausting. It's exhausting having the same conversation. It's exhausting demanding the same rights. But, you gotta think of it as a luxury over liberty. And I heard my friend say this, like, I voted for civil liberties, not my luxury. Like the Joe Biden's quote unquote tax plan that may or may not exist would affect me, but I didn't vote that way. I voted because I wanted to make sure that we could have any appearance of equality there is in the White House, that the semblance. And so many of us in this country specifically vote selfishly. And I don't think the education that Jemele talks about, I don't think that we get how important it is to not vote for yourself. The history of America is so wrong and such a lie and taught to us as if this was this great place and we were great people. And Jemele, one of your tweets pissed everybody off. And I'm reading her book now, Isabel Wilkerson. We're not that beautiful. Look, I use this analogy. My mom said she'll, and this goes vice versa. You ever wake up one day and realize your kids ain't shit? You'd be like, damn, my kid is an asshole. You know what I mean? I love him to death, but my child's an asshole. Or if you wake up one day and you be like, God, I love my mom and my dad, but God, they're so flawed. The veil has been lifted. One day you realize that the people that you love so dear and considered so great are not perfect. And that's where I'm at. And that's where we are in this country. And if we don't address what is not great and what is not perfect about the world in which we live in and how racism has built this country, literally racism has built this country. It's not hyperbole. America became one of the richest nations based on the fact that they owned slaves and they have free labor for 400 years. And slaves were worth more than the railroad systems in the factory in this nation for at one point in time. There's no righting that wrong unless you address it. And people don't want to address it. And so that's why 72 million people who really thought that they were being threatened and their lives were being threatened voted for Donald Trump. They felt like what they feel is theirs was taken away. And I'm like, none of this was ours. We have such a ass-backward system on thinking, and I just wish we didn't vote so selfishly. I wish we thought everybody did deserve the same thing. I don't know how the hell we're going to do that.
Yeah, it really is. It's ridiculous when you do see how many people voted in that arm for Donald Trump. Basically, whether they, as you mentioned, Cari, a lot of people voted selfishly, whether they're like, well, I voted for my parents' taxes. You're like, oh, so you accept racism, though. Like you, this country, at least from my time, only the 7 years I've lived here, is very much built on this like individualism of not caring about other people, of not looking at the greater good. And that has been that then accepts racism, and especially for white people that it doesn't affect. They're like, well, I don't see it. I don't feel it. Like, why are we having this conversation? And I had a friend recently who was like, why are we still talking about racism? I'm like, honey, because it f***ing exists. Like, you might not feel it at your law office, but do you see any black people working with you? No. Like, maybe there's a reason why. And so, yes, I had a long conversation with a friend about that, but like, we can still, even people, you know, I feel like I'm trying to help my friends understand this, but I'm like, I also need to understand a lot of stuff going on in this country as well. But it is f***ed up. Thank God we ended up on the other side. It was a close couple of days, but we stayed glued to the TV screen here in this household for literally 10,000 hours.
Yeah, literally.
And I guess right now we'll just have to see what kind of shenanigans Trump likes to throw at us in the next couple months, which I'm sure there's over-unders and bets on. But I'm just yammering right now. I know my producer's like, okay, stop talking because you're drunk. But we have a whole lot more to come after the break here with Jemele and Cari about what white women can do better. All right? So stay tuned.
Hey everybody, Colin Hanks here, having a drink with Binks.
Hi guys, welcome back to Drinks with Binks. I'm here with Jemele Hill and Cari Champion, and we're drinking a whole lot of different stuff right now. We got Sauvignon Blanc, we got a rosé champagne, we've got champagne. We've got only a little bit of rosé left, so it's been a time, and it's great. We're discussing a lot of different good issues that we need to. And on the heels of what we were just discussing, Jemele, I was reading your article, She Did It, in The Atlantic. And you had a great quote that I wanted to ask you guys about. And it said, you know, countless women can relate to what Harris, and this is obviously discussing Kamala Harris as vice president-elect, to what Harris went through. Women of color are often scrutinized more closely than others, and we are criticized in different terms. From what you guys have been through in your careers, in what way does the lens in which society and people look at Black women need to change?
Oh, I mean, this is a long list. I know we have we have only so much time in this show and only so much alcohol. I'm like, I may need to pour some more because of that one. No, but you know, honestly, I think a big component of it is that the invisibility that Black women still face is that despite the fact that, you know, I've said this repeatedly, I talk about how Black women are the conscience of America. And the reason I say that is because of something Cari said the last segment, is that, you know, Black women have to vote with a conscience. They have to vote for the greater good, because a lot of Black women have brothers and mothers and sons. It's like so many people to look out for in the community. And that's just kind of the way that we're built. And so we're constantly saving people all the time, sometimes from the worst version of themselves. And we're always put in a position where we have to do that, where we have to think for the greater good. And our reward is to be invisible, to not be thought of, to not be checked for, to not be looked after, to not be cared for. And so that is kind of this position that we're kind of stuck in, because we know what the hierarchy is. The hierarchy in our society goes, okay, white men as a majority, right? They have had all the privileges throughout the entire time. White women have had slightly less privileges, but they've been able to ride on the privilege of white men to enjoy the benefit of both that privilege and the privilege of being considered a minority. So they've been able to experience both worlds. And then when you have Black men, there is a male privilege that they enjoy, even though, yes, they are persecuted and they have to suffer some of the same racial indignities that we do, but they're still men. They still had the right to vote before we did. I mean, even with the 19th Amendment, which guaranteed women all suffrage, that didn't guarantee Black women suffrage. We had to fight to get that. And so people forget what that hierarchy is and how that hierarchy shows up in our everyday existence. And on top of the other stereotypes of us being viewed as combative and angry, confrontational, our ambition being held against us. If we remember, there was a narrative and a story that was put out about Madam Vice President Harris about how she might be overlooked or picked over by Joe Biden because she was too ambitious, because she once wanted to be president, and because on the debate stage she got the best of him. Like if she were a man, that would have never even been a question, never. Right?
Yeah,
it's a debate, right? But they use that moment to hold her accomplishments and her ambitions against her, and that's something that Black women face on the pay scale. We pay 61 cents on the dollar, which is lower than white women, lower than Black men, lower than white men. So like we're always falling in last for the most part, and so that is something we have to fight for our respect a little harder. So sometimes if we are in work environments and we seem a little more to ourselves, or if we have a little tougher exterior, that's where all of that comes from. And it's misinterpreted that we are trying to be unnecessarily confrontational and combative with people.
Right. And for Cari, like, how can we, like, what can we, I mean, it sounds so awful to have to live carrying that kind of baggage with you.
It's exhausting. I just feel like what she said is so right. I'm just sitting here listening, slightly tipsy, but listening and thinking that the fact of the matter is that it's exhausting. We do go to work and we are aware of how people perceive us. We do go to work and we are aware of what my ask will be. So if I have a producer and I ask something in a way in which I ask, it could be perceived as she's being angry, she's tough, she's so aggressive, but I'm asking a normal question. Are you sure that we should interview this guest? Because the last time I heard they weren't really sufficient. That could be received as combative. That could be received as, and that's for all women, but definitely for Black women, that could be received in a totally different way in which I intended it. And I feel like all of that is sitting on our shoulders. And a lot of what we want is for people just to see the humanity in us. And I say that often, and it sounds so simple, but the reality is that the way that they view Julie Stewart-Binks as possibly their sister or their wife or their best friend or their girlfriend, I'd like for them to see me in those ways, because that gives you an empathy that you don't normally have. You can't empathize with someone you haven't socialized with. You can't empathize with someone you've never been around. You can't empathize with someone who seems so foreign to you socially in every aspect of the way. You don't even understand where they're coming from. And there's no commonality because we live so insulated and separated. And I feel like a lot of the people who don't enforce diversity in their lives, who don't make an effort to have people from all different backgrounds part of their lives, can't understand anything that we're saying or anything that we see. You can't just see it our way. It just makes no sense to you.
Right.
And that's what I think should be done. I think people should make a true effort to really insert diversity in their lives. It doesn't have to be a Black woman. It can be an Asian man. I'm making up something. But my point is that you need to go out of your way to really understand others. Like we grow up learning more about y'all than you ever know about us, which is why y'all ask to touch my hair. You know, not you per se, but y'all be like, can I touch your hair? I went to an all-white junior high school, all white high school. At times it was mixed, but mostly white. And I come with different braids. They're like, now what is that? Now, why do I have to tell you about my hair when I know that you probably have to wash your hair once every 2 days? Or why do I know that you probably live in this neighborhood? Or why do I know you probably like these shoes? We know everything about white America because that's all we see on television and that's all we hear about and that's all we read about. But no one knows anything about us. Now, is that all your hair? Now, all of it is yours? Because, whatever the case may be. Like, why? Why are we having these basic ass conversations? When you should be doing the work to have more diverse people in your life so that you know how they grew up and how they lived. And that will give you such a different perspective on how you interact with people.
I can't imagine what you guys have both been through. And it is so important to be able to hear these perspectives and for people to then reflect on their own behavior and their own actions in this regard and things that they may have said that they didn't think were racist or out of line, but really probably were, because we are realizing in this country, starkly enough, that there is a massive, and we've known this, you guys have known this because you've lived it, but that there is a massive issue with racism, and that it, as you mentioned, sure, we now have, luckily, not the sociopath running the country anymore, but that's just the first step. So we have more to come with Cari and Jemele. Guys, don't go anywhere. We're doing this and having these conversations while drinking, so
we're very
that's a sign you can do anything you want.
Best time to talk about race is when you're drinking.
Yes.
Hey, this is Sarah Walsh, and obviously I've had drinks with Binks.
Hey guys, welcome back to Drinks with Binks. We've been having a great time with Jemele Hill and Cari Champion, and there's so many more things we want to talk about, but we have only a short amount of time. And Cari, I got to ask you, we were just discussing now being able to sort of really speak your mind and be yourself. You were on SportsCenter, First Take, Sports Nation, and you crushed it, but now you get to be Cari Champion. What's the transition been like going from telling the sports news to being yourself?
Yeah, I think, like Jemele said earlier, I was always myself. I think I would keep my very important opinions to myself. I'd be like, I might do a face. Jemele would always tease me when I was skipping Stephen A. I'd be like, she knew what I was thinking. Now I just say it along with the face that I make. The transition's been interesting. I had somebody tell me today that I was too TV-like, perhaps not enough just conversational, which I thought was interesting because I'm like, what the hell does that mean? I am who I am. Right? Yeah. that part. But the reality is that I think people aren't familiar with my ether or how I move if you don't really know me. I'm very, as Jemele likes to say, I'm a porcupine, right? So my friends, I have very few close friends because I'm a little prickly. It's hard to get inside and see the real me. And those who really know me know I don't give a you gonna hear this. You're gonna get these feelings. I'll fuss you out and be your friend 5 minutes later. And so I think for me, it's letting the audience understand who I am truly. And I didn't have any rounds with the president, so people didn't know how I felt. But now they're starting to understand how I feel. But I will say this: our last episode, and I'll say this quickly, when we were fussing out folks for voting for Trump, I was anyway. I hesitated to post it because it made me uncomfortable. I was like, damn, I'm going in. Should I post this? Do I really want people to know I really feel this way? Does this affect other opportunities? And I said, if I don't do this, if not now, when? If not now, when? If I really am more dedicated to the fight for justice, it doesn't matter who wants to be with me in this fight or not. I have to do it for myself.
And on the heels of that, we don't have a whole lot of time, but I know, Jemele, you have had no problem speaking your mind. We don't have a lot of time, but do you think that now where it's like, whatever executive in the past didn't like this or that, like, this is who I am, this is important, this is bigger than this, like, I'm just going to go for it on social media?
My thing is, it's really, that's all I can say, because, I kind of am who I am, and it's like, I can't go backwards. So you've seen who I am, you've seen, the biggest controversy I guess I've ever caused, and if you can't get on board with who I am, then I'm too old to change. So it kind of is what it is.
Right. And just to follow up.
Yes, I'm 75. So it's like, it's not.
I can't wait to be on the 400 under 400 list that I'm waiting for Awful Announcing to write. Been pushing them. I've sent them my bio. So it's coming out soon. So many more questions I want to ask you about. My producer's telling me to go to break, and God damn it, he's right. We got to take a time out. We're here on Drinks with Binks. Don't go anywhere. We've had an awesome time drinking and banking here with Cari and Jemele. And guys, where can we find the show next? Cari, I'll start with you.
Where can we find the show next? We air Thursday at 11:30 after Vice News. It's called Cari and Jemele Won't Stick to Sports. It's on Vice. You can get it on the app. You can get it on Hulu. You can get it on Fubo. Get it anywhere. Just Google it. Look for it. It's available. And our next episode will be really, really good. We always have good guests, but I feel like this one will be fire. I can't tell you everything, but no, we're bringing ether to the white world.
Yeah, you guys have gotten some great guests. And then also you guys have 10,000 projects. Please tell me in a very short amount of time, starting with Jemele, what else you guys are working on?
So in addition to the 2 podcasts that I'm juggling, my own, which is Jemele Hill is Unbothered, and also Rewatch Pod on The Wire called Way Down in the Hole that I host with Van Lathan. Just a number of TV projects I'm working on. There's going to be a big announcement in the coming days about one I've been collaborating on with somebody who is a very notable Hollywood actor. So that's coming in a couple of days.
Like, can you give us a hint? Like what movie they've been in, maybe?
No, because you'll guess it. So no, I can't.
Would a basic white bee have seen the movie?
A basic white has seen many of their movies.
Oh, shit.
In fact, they made one of the movies that every basic white, every BWB has definitely seen.
I can't stand you.
Especially like around 14 and 15 years old.
I can't stand you. Can't stand you.
I cannot wait. Okay. And Cari, what else do we have going on with you?
I have a podcast that's out right now. It's called The Brown Print. I'm also teaming up with someone very popular in radio to do a podcast under his network that's coming out. It'll be announced at the top of the year.
Would a basic white bee know who that potential person is?
You would.
Yes,
you would.
Definitely.
You would.
A lot of secret announcements going on over here.
Yeah, I too have a scripted television series coming out that was recently purchased based on my life, but there's a lot going on. The kids are working and hustling. We're getting all our money.
All these bags.
Guys, you guys are just a joy, a pleasure to have on the show. So inspiring also, because now I have to get like a production company and work with some actor and whatever.
Hey, Julie.
I'm like, oh my God. I'm like,
hey, Julie, you are so powerful in your own right. Don't let anybody tell you different. And thank you for having us on the show. I mean, I've adored you from day one. So thank you. Thank you so much. And keep doing you, little girl.
oh gosh, I'm more red than I am with all the alcohol in my system right now. Thank you guys for doing this. I know you have 10,000 things to do. Don't hate me for this taking so long. Guys, follow us, Fubo, wherever you can watch their show on it. That's awesome.
Fubo.
Bottoms up, bitches. We'll see you next week.